نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي ربي زدني علما اللهم فقهنا في الدين اللهم إني أسألك علما نافعا وعملا متقبلا ورزقا طيبا اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما اللهم إني أعوذ بك من علم لا ينفع ومن قلب لا يخشع ومن نفس لا تشبع ومن دعوة لا يستجاب لها. Inshallah, today we will be working on ayat number 195, Surah alBaqarah. In today's session, we will be studying only this ayat. The reason is that this ayat has a lot of potential for practicing on it. We always make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the chance to study Quran and practice according to it. Then and my focus here, of course, is that we understand more and more of Quran, but I don't want to just keep on moving with lots of ayats done and covered in one session and not much change in our practice. So this ayat, inshallah, I hope that by the end of this session, you will have at least learned one new thing, one new tip, where you will know how to spend in the way of Allah and what is the difference between that and zakat and a little more things. So let's first study the ayat and do the translation, then we will inshallah go and analyze it. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Wa and anfiqu comes from the root nun fa qaf nafaq, which means to spend. The literal meaning of the word nafaq is tunnel or hole, and that is why the derived word is also munafiq, which means hypocrites, because hypocrites also this. Basically, you can take it to mean that they have a hole in the heart, or it doesn't things don't stay with them, or in their ears they listen to something and then it just goes away from the other hole. In the same way, for spending, in the context of spending, it means there is a hole in the palm that as soon as the Muslim gets the money, they spend in the way of Allah. So, anfiqu, and spend, fi, in sabilillahi, in the way of Allah. Sabil, the root is sabal, seen by lam, which means way or road. Wa la, and not, do not. Tulqu, to you. Alqu comes from laqi lam qafia, means throw or put. You might remember from Musa alayhi salam's story where the magicians ask him, are you throwing your stick, or should we? So alqa, laqi, throw. Tulku, do not throw yourself. Be with aidikum, your hands. Aid. Okay, so don't throw yourself with your own hands. Ila, towards. At-tahluka. Halak, halam kaf, means halakat, destruction. So don't throw yourself towards destruction. There, it seems like if you don't spend in the way of Allah, the other side is, other direction is throwing yourself in destruction. We'll go into it in a little bit. The third part of this ayat is wa and ahsinu, hasinun, do good. Don't just do good, do excellent. Hasan means something that is above average, above what is just needed for the situation. So wa ahsinu, and do good. Innallaha, indeed Allah, yuhibbul muhsinin. Yuhibbu, hababa, which means loves, and muhsinin, the people who do good, who do at the hasan level, beautiful level, excellent level. So as we already see that there are three parts in this ayat. And the first part is where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala simply gives us the command, which is to spend in the way of Allah. The second part is, what if we don't spend in the way of Allah? We are destroying ourselves, we are throwing ourselves in the destruction. And the third part is the level at which where this action needs to be done. It should not be done just the average level, it should be done at an excellent level where we are eager to improve and do more and more and more. Okay, so the first thing is, why spend in the way of Allah? There is lots of kinds of charities that we study in Quran. The obligation, the further from this, the pillar of Islam is the zakat, which is 2.5%, and there are many more details about zakat, which is another subject altogether. The other kinds of charity, which is also called sadaqah, which comes from the root sadaq, sad al qaf, which means honesty or truthfulness. It shows our honesty towards Islam, that we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not let it go to waste, that we will get rewards for it. We will get everything back, whatever we spend. So sadaqah has many branches. One of it is, generally we keep studying, okay, spend on parents and relatives and travelers and orphans and needy, all that, right? That is one, there are different branches where we are helping. And the needy in general category, or the relatives or parents and family, or spending in the family, and many ahadis on that. Then there's this big huge category of spending in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where of course this makes complete sense right after the ayat related to the qital, the jihad, where because the general theme of this ayat is to strengthen Islam and to spend money, like strengthen Islam by spending money on it. Not just if you earn something, it is not basically only for yourself and your family, and what kind of house you want to buy, and what kind of car do you want to buy, where you want to go for vacation, and what do you want to do in your children's wedding and for their education. And these are the basic goals a person has, right, in an individualistic society. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala helps us think as a collective, in a group, for our community. And you see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us category where we give charity, and I already mentioned that. But over here, this is a most neglected category, where people, even those who go to, for example, mosque for praying salah, they do not take responsibility. They do not even think who is taking care of the construction or maintenance or any kind of expenses related to the masjid. We never give it a thought that just like we pay for watching a movie in a cinema, we justify that completely, that we are using their facility, and they have to, of course, pay for the projection, and they have to pay the electric bills, and they have to pay the janitor for cleaning, and any other office or any other building or facility that we use. But what happens when we go to a masjid? We just don't even think. It's not even like we shrug our shoulders and we say we don't want to pay. We don't even think how these are taken care of. We just somehow assume that this keeps on happening, or maybe Allah is just maintaining it, or we don't, most of us don't think until this is just ayat like these are a blessing, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us the realization. We are woken up to see that this is an important aspect. It should be part of our life, part of our income. Some percentage of our income should be kept on the side for Islam. We should be able to pay, even if it's the smallest amount possible, for the maintenance of the masajids. And masajid is a very primary thing, where you're visiting 5 times, or you should be visiting 5 times a day. And so as much as you think about your paying the rent and the bills and the electricity and the internet and Netflix, of all those things for your own house, you should put some amount. Imagine that there was a punch card or something. Whenever you go for salah, you have to pay $1 or $2, right? But we would feel so bad. We'd be like, what kind of masjid is this? They're enforcing the money for using them. But yes, they also need janitors. They also need people to vacuum and clean, and they also need to pay electricity bill for the heating and cooling and AC that you want here, right? What kind of what kind of conversations do we have when we visit a masjid that is not very well taken care of? We're like, oh, the carpets were so smelly. Did you see the bathrooms? So it's very easy to criticize and compare, but it's very hard to just pay every time. So the easiest thing is that whatever amount you can afford, and when I say afford, I'll wait for the third part of this ayat where it says ahsinu. So whatever you can, at least make it like auto payment for third, like for the maintenance of the masjid as well. So you don't actually every month have to think that, oh really, do I have to pay 200 $500 dollars for this? Okay, so that is one thing. There are many other ways in which you can pay. And keep in mind, whenever it is anfiqu, it is not just the money. Yes, primarily it is money, but if you can't afford anything at all, then you can volunteer your time over there. You can go and do clean, you can go and put the books properly in the bookshelf, you can do something, right, to help in the way of Allah. And this is just one part, one example, and there are so many more examples, like Islamic schools, Islamic institutes, the classes that are being taught, and what is our attitude towards that. We do not want to pay, this is the least, we want to pay very little amount. If any Islamic class, any tajweed, any tafsir, any class, any fake class is being taught and the fees is like it seems more, then we say, oh, they're charging a lot. We don't justify that. On the other hand, if there's a computer course or a math class or physics, chemistry, tuitions, A levels, O levels, we're like completely fine, because we understand that they have that admin cost that needs to be processed, right? That because those subjects, the children really in this time and age, they really need to be on top of things. But we do not understand that we are weakening the platform of Islam for our next generation, not just even for our own self, because then which scholars will be encouraged to make this their primary job if they will not be able to charge for the seminars or for the conferences that they have in some topics, right? If they understand that people are not going to register, they just want all the free stuff, then the scholars, of course, they will need a primary job, then they'll be taking care of their family as well, and then this will become a secondary thing that, okay, whenever I have time, I'll do research. Now in this time, we all like to get answers to our questions, because life and the world is changing so much. We want our scholars, the Islamic scholars, to be able to answer our questions about difficult things, the complexities of life. But we do not motivate, we don't leave any motivation for the scholars to do full-time research. It does cost a lot for them to run their families too, right? So just in the same way, we have the same attitudes towards our Islamic schools. We have the same attitude towards any other Islamic classes when they are taught, and the teachers have to just charge bare minimums to cover the cost. And so whichever place they have rented or anything, they feel like most of the teachers they do of course get the rewards from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it is completely halal if they charge a fee as well. But the attitude from the people, the treatment from sadly from the Muslims only, is such that it just is sunnah of getting more knowledge in Islam and understanding it is vanishing. It is very scary to see that we will in our next generation, it might slowly disappear. And people might, because our children, they get the impression from us, right, that okay, our parents used to give this lower priority, so learning Islam is not so difficult. We have to pray salah, we learn from our parents, and for the Ramadan we will fast, and for zakat, yes, we understand it's 2.5%. Who needs to know the details about all those things? And about the other questions, yes, we'll ask the imam. People don't even give it a thought. And then the thing is, this, when we when we connect this to the second part, it makes complete sense that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that if you do not spend in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it is as if you are throwing yourself in destruction by your own self. Of course, then our children, our next generation, and the generation after that, and then after that, they will be completely polluted with the thoughts and opinions and ideas of the other things around them, of the environment. They will be wrapped in the environment that they are, because we start this. If we don't give importance to our sunnah, if we do not give importance to our education of Islam, if we do not give importance to all these things, if we don't give importance to spending money in Islam, then we will not have institutes and masajid which are really well maintained, right? Other things that we can do is spend on the literature, on the books. Make it a habit to give gifts in the form of Islamic books. These days, you see really good, even children's books are really good these days. And we should encourage, this is again an encouragement for the publishers and the Muslim authors to write and produce better work. They will only do that if they see that people are inclined towards buying them. So make it a habit. Try to change your trend of giving gifts, whether it is birthdays, whether it is anniversaries, weddings. And so children, if you make goodie bags, and people tend to spend so much money on just little children's birthdays, and they're just making their own ego happy, and they make such very expensive, because we are all competing with each other for what? For this dunya. And actually, what are we supposed to compete in? The third part of this ayat, that we have to become excellent in this. We should not just settle on spending just this much and okay, yeah, I paid for the Islamic studies books for my children's syllabus curriculum in the school, right? And we become happy at that. And spending what, $20 every semester, and then we're happy with that. But the thing is that if we make it a habit, if we make it a trend, then inshallah people will think more about it. This will not only stop there. They will not only get the reward for buying a gift for someone as a couple of Islamic books, but it might become sadaqah jariyah for you if it touches, the book touches the heart of their child, and maybe that triggers him to read more and more and more on that topic. Or if in the future, if they study that, you never know how it will help us, and this will create the interest, inshallah, eventually. And you can see that the future of Islam will be secure, the future of our children will be secure, the future of Muslims overall. You're making us all stronger. So this is what it means, spending in the way of Allah, because Allah does not need our money. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is as every other action that we do, our salah, our fast, everything. In the same way, spending in the way of Allah is also a test for us. If Allah wants to make Islam the strongest body in the world, Allah can. But the thing is that it is our test on what our preferences are, what we give importance to, what we spend more time in, where are we going, and what are we competing with each other. Just like Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has explained to us before, as wastabikul khairat, so race in the doing good. So there are many ways in which you can do it. Just like it's become very trendy to say, oh, Eid is so boring. Try to revive that sunnah, that people celebrate Eid more. How can you do that? You spend money in any case in buying such expensive dresses and everything. So in the Eid, people make it a trend that you give at least one book, some flyers, something that is more interesting to the children. If you buy from, you have to buy your gifts from anywhere anyways, right? So that way you're going to strengthen the Islamic stores, Islamic publications, Islamic authors to do more stuff, right? And then that is how this whole system, this whole machinery will be oiled, and it will work towards our own betterment overall. And we will not just be thinking of at our own level, we will be thinking about the betterment of everyone. And inshallah, that thought will become a sadaqah jariyah for you. That other person, if I get a gift of a seerah book or a hadith book, and then I like that idea, and I will say, oh, next time if my child completes something, if there is, I can also give this kind of children's book out, and this will become sadaqah jariyah for me. Plus it will set a nice trend of spreading Islam. So then the massage, so that was one idea, was masajid and Islamic schools and Islamic classes. Second idea is all kinds of gifts, whatever occasion, including the Eid and the birthdays and anniversaries. The third category in the way of spreading Islam, spending in the way of Islam, is towards the outreach, towards inclining the non-Muslims towards Islam, giving them gifts, telling, which gives them information about Islam, and making friends with them. And this will require your time as well. You will have to manage your time, and volunteering in institutes that do that, where you can mentor, and spending money in giving like donations over there, so they can give out Islamic books, information, because they need to get things in print. They need some staff as well for maintenance. They need people who can go out and do the mentoring. So if you can't give time, at least give the money, so they can, for new Muslims, they can support giving the scarves and the prayer mats and the janamas and all the needed things. So also, besides that, you see that people who become new Muslims, sometimes they're very sick and fighting an illness in the hospitals, and there is nobody who visits them. They sometimes don't even have money. If there is non-Muslim who dies, sometimes there is no one who can buy the kafan for them. There are so very few people who are there for Salatul Janaza in the masjid after some non-Muslim dies, because their relatives, their brothers, sisters, mother, father, they're not Muslims. So there is so much need to be spending your money and time in the way of Allah, because this is how you can strengthen the body of Islam, right? So again, I'm just keep going, giving you summary as well. So one whole category is the attaining the knowledge of Islam and practicing masjid and Islamic schools and Islamic classes and all those. Give more trend to that. Try to attend paid Islamic classes, go to those classes and encourage others, enroll others who can't afford but they're interested, buy translation Qurans, buy them some flyers. So people who are doing the bidah, like for example, for Rajab, many people don't know. So if you can find the flyers and if you can get them printed and if you can distribute, it might stop people from following the bidah. So the second category we discussed was the gift buying and giving, right, and the goodie bags and all that. And the third is the non-Muslims and spending on them, and the new Muslims and all that outreach. And the fourth is, again, as I already mentioned, after qital or jihad of any kind. So do this if you are associated with any class, and if you can print out material and photocopy and make things easier for them, the notes or any book that is going to be taught, and you can distribute to the whole group, then that is also spending in the way of Allah. Because sometimes people are not, our attitude towards buying Islamic books is also even for our own need, for our own knowledge, we don't go and buy those things. So get those, put them in the library. We are so keen on spending money and placing Quran in Medina and all these places, but we don't ever buy Islamic books and put them where they need to be, maybe in public libraries, maybe giving them to our cousins and friends, and whenever we are having a get together. So this is also all Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward, because this is like a command. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is, although it is not fard, it's not an obligatory thing to do over here, just like zakat, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding. If you can see the tone that Allah is saying, anfiqu fi sabilillahi. So you have to spend in the way of Allah. And the other thing, in the second part, we see that if you don't do it, then it's going to take you all away from Islam. You're going to be busy only with the worldly knowledge, worldly gifts, worldly education, and only the interests of all those things. So that will lead to your destruction, and your whole generations, next generations will be destroyed. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us that when we are in the act of doing that, we have to make sure that we don't settle and we don't compare ourselves with others and say, oh, I'm spending more than that. Oh, I gave out those books to the entire group, to the whole class, so I'm so much better. Do more and more. Just like in this world, we try to excel and we want to achieve more, and after one promotion, another promotion, after one house, another house, after one investment, another investment. So don't settle with one thing and, okay, this year I just did this much and that is enough. Okay, so try to do the best, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves the ones who excel, who try to do better and better, and who try to improve themselves, inshallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us more ideas and make us wise in spending in the way of Islam, inshallah.